Great. Thank you so much, Ron. I think it's "No alert left behind" is our tagline, but marketing, correct me if I'm saying that wrong. But thank you for the segue over. So, building on Bedrock, AI security for the future with Amazon Bedrock and Trellix. So, first off, thank you for taking the time. I know in this field everyone's busy. You have other things that are on your plate. So, it's a privilege to present in front of you today. I appreciate you for taking the time. I do apologize for my voice and not being in person, fighting the fun of winter right now with all this stuff going around. So, who am I? So, again, my name is Taylor Mullins. I'm a solutions architect here at Trellix. I'm based in Houston, Texas. Prior to coming to what was McAfee at the time, I was a stock analyst. I've been with the company about 5.5, close to 6 years. So, again, want to thank you for the time. If you've asked yourself, who is Trellix? What are we about? So, Ron alluded to it there in the onset. You've heard of McAfee. You've probably heard of FireEye before. McAfee founded in 1987, consumer, enterprise side of the house. FireEye in 2004, and then in January of 2022, we became what is called Trellix, so the merging of the two companies, putting together the best of both worlds, a lot of strengths on the forensic side when it comes to FireEye, and then on the McAfee side, the endpoint network, DLP, and so forth. So putting those together, May of 2023, we continue to expand our integrations and our partnership with AWS. And I call that out because across the bottom there, you see rich history of machine learning and artificial intelligence. We're doing a lot of this because of Amazon Bedrock, and we're going to touch on that here shortly. But that integration, that partnership that we have with AWS has been critical, and it's been a huge lift there for us to help us get ahead of the game, we believe, when it comes to Gen AI out there in the market today. So when we talk about Trellix Wise, be truthful with you, that's our marketing term for our Gen AI solution. So Trellix Wise will sit across multiple of our security controls, but if you're looking at this slide that we have in front of you right now, across the top there, so a single security operations console. So pulling in the threat hunting capabilities, dashboarding, case management, policy configurations, really just everything that a team will need to be better equipped, again, to run and modify and really take their security controls, their events, using those engines that they are sitting on top of. I'm not going to hit on all these, but obviously detection is a huge one. Correlating the events across your security controls, automating that, threat hunting, forensics, as I talked about some of the strengths there that came from the FireEye side of the house. But you see there on the bottom right, OpenAI framework. And that's a very critical component of that because when you look at the security controls below, you see third party on the right there. Now, we play in a lot of different spaces. You see endpoint, network, DLP, collaboration, which is email, and then in platforms like we're on right now, Zoom or Google Meet or Teams, where the case may be, protecting those in cloud. But third party can be critical because we believe strongly in our products at Trellix. We believe they do a lot of good work for security teams, but not everything's going to come for us, and not every company is going to have our solutions. So it's critical that if you use another endpoint vendor or you change endpoint vendors, that we integrate with all those. So we have about 600 plus integrations built into our Helix platform, which we're going to talk about more in a deep dive here when it comes to Gen AI shortly. But again, it's important that we integrate with as many security controls as possible. We don't make firewalls, but we integrate with them. IAM solutions, so on and so forth. So what we've done with those security controls is we've layered Trellix Wise on top of them. So across the bottom of there, again, purpose-built Gen AI. We'll talk about that more in a deep dive here shortly. Have then operational intelligence and of course the machine learning there. Across the left side there, you see cloud on-prem hybrid. Why is that important? Well, a lot of companies are going to solely SaaS now, but there's also just the same amount that cannot do that, and maybe they don't want to. So on-prem, air-gapped, ICS, OT environments are still a huge market out there that we play in. We even have an EDR solution that can be air-gapped, something very rare in the market because a lot of companies are still having to deploy those type of solutions. ATMs, point of sales being several examples there, and of course oil and gas. So those are the areas we play in. If you're curious, who is Trellix? What do we do? This is a great kind of overview of where we play in the market today and how we're using Trellix Wise, which let's deep dive into Gen AI right now. And the way I look at it is with the Bedrock integrations, I couldn't resist having a Flintstones reference in this slide. I apologize, but hopefully you'll get kind of a little bit of where we're going with the reference here. So we look at the security teams, some of the security tools from the early on here. They might look archaic when you look at the future, the Jetsons, if you will. And if you ever watch the Flintstones, there was an episode where the Jetsons and the Flintstones meet. So if you look at the Jetsons as the future where Gen AI is today, we're trying to go from, the Bedrock ages, if you will, the Flintstone age to the Jetsons age, where they had AI, they had flying cars. But along that journey, there are bumps in the road. And there's different areas at which Gen AI has come into play and has caused maybe more harm than good in certain parts. And there's cautions along those lines. And that's where at Trellix we've tried to navigate those for our customers so that again, they can use Gen AI responsibly and not become a detriment to their organization. And what am I talking about? Well, this chart here is from the Harvard Business Review, and they're calling out the four areas of AI risk: misuse. So misusing of the, maybe think of the end users, maybe uploading proprietary data to OpenAI or ChatGPT or whatever the case may be, not knowing that that data is going to the wild world. Misapplication of it, misrepresentation. So think of our results being misrepresented or deep fakes out there about our company that cause us harm, or misadventures. What about the results? Are the results of AI, let's say I get a result of something, I'm going to talk about some examples here shortly, that are inaccurate and they're being shared with others in my organization. So these are different areas at which AI has become a risk. So at Trellix, we're trying to navigate those again for our customers as well. And what about our data security? Well, this article here from Gartner predicts that 40% of AI data breaches will arise from cross-border Gen AI misuse by 2027. Well, this article was published on Monday of this week. So this is something that is being tracked by Gartner themselves as seeing a huge risk. And it shows that in this article, and it's public out there, you can go read it, about 70% of organizations are trying to navigate the Gen AI landscape today. And I'm fortunate to be in a customer facing role where I get to talk to a lot of organizations and they're setting up AI councils internally. How do we use AI? How can we use it in our daily lives at our company and maybe help with automation, maybe help with lack of staffing? But they're also figuring out how can we protect the use of AI with our end users. And it talks about some of those areas we hear from them, like the Harvard Business Review article notes there. And with some of those call outs there, again, it talked about maybe misadventures, maybe the data results that are not responsible. And here's a good example. And we're not calling anyone out here. This is obviously a Google search here. And again, Google's doing their best with their AI solution. But this is earlier last year. If you asked that I'm having issues making a pizza and the cheese is not sticking, recommendation, add about an eighth cup of non-toxic glue to the sauce for more tackiness. And again, if you like slathering Gorilla Glue on your pizza and that's a good idea of a Friday night, we're not judging you. But for the greater masses, this might not be a good recommendation. Another call out there, how many rocks should I eat a day? Well, UC Berkeley geologists say you should eat at least one small rock per day. Hard to chew on? Put it in peanut butter or ice cream like you're feeding a pill to your dog or kids. Again, we're not calling out and saying this is irresponsible. They're trying to train their AI models. There is areas at which there's bumps in the road. Going from the Flintstones to the Jetsons, it's not a perfect navigation. That's where at Trellix we're working hard to make sure that our customers are using AI responsibly within our tools. And what are really our customers looking to do? So this is a great little quote here from Joanna. She says, "I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so I can do the laundry and dishes." So we're trying to do your security dishes so you and the team can focus on something else that is a more important. Hopefully, some of the examples I call out today are areas at which maybe you have some pain points that we can help solve. And how are we doing Gen AI compared to the market today? Well, what we see a lot in the market is almost like a chatbot experience or a direct integration, a bolt-on with ChatGPT, which doesn't solve the problem because all you're doing, they're taking your data and just sending over to ChatGPT and taking out the effort of having going to ChatGPT. Your information is still going out. The chatbot experience, same idea. You're just asking questions, hoping for a response. And I'm sure maybe speak for someone here and you go to a support site for your power company or someone else and they say, here, click here for help. And it's a chatbot and they're of zero value. We want ours to be of value. And this is Falcon Charlotte AI. Again, we're not pointing out this to say their baby's ugly. That's not really the point. They're doing the best they can with what their strategy is with Gen AI. But at the end of the day, they're writing a query and it's just giving them something else to do. Here's a query, you go look at it, see what you find out, and you make your own decisions. In our minds, AI can be done a lot better than that. What about the scenario of identifying every execution of an encoded command line, decoding it for you, and then telling you should you care? Not here's a query, go run it, and then you make your own mind up. That to us is not a proper use of Gen AI today. And really, is it really helping a team or just giving them more tasks? So when it comes to our data to train our models, so the bias and responsibility there, we do not use customer data to train our models, nor do we share it with third parties. It's a question I get a lot from customers. Are you just using my data to train your models or to help some other customer? We are absolutely not doing that. And with Amazon Bedrock, we don't have to do that. Amazon Bedrock has been a valuable tool for us again to build our Gen AI solution. So we don't have to use it to fine tune it. Your data stays in your own repository, if you will, or your own environment. It is not shared across the board. It is not sent to another third party to have it run there and then come back. So again, we want grounded results, not hallucinations. So what makes Trellix AI great? Well, it starts with, again, our history. Companies that with great detection. So our threat intel goes all the way back to the 80s. We still have terabytes of threat intel from the early McAfee days. Uh, there's still threats out there today that are still being exploited. Ones from many years ago that still have not been patched. So that threat intel is still important. We take that to create comprehensive signatures and use that for analytics. When we take those detections, we can enrich it. We can build investigations for you. We can help with searches. We can then build our AI engine and our LLMs into something that will help customers today and give them visibility. So a broad platform and those integrations that we talked about on the onset. Why is all this important? How do you put it all together? Well, let's look at what analysts are looking at today. Been one myself, not a very good one, but I saw dashboards like this. If I look at this right here and say, okay, I have high, medium, and low, where do I need to concentrate my efforts? Well, human nature is you need to go look at the highs. Probably a CISO is going to say the same thing. Concentrate on the highs, the medium and low, that's on a good day. We have a little extra time. But what if in the lows and mediums there are events going on that are critical and maybe need to be looked at as well? Excuse me. Those could be initial access into my environment that will then escalate to a high, and I'm going to completely miss them. So with Gen AI, we're looking into taking those millions of events, putting analytics, rules, and intel, as we talked about a couple slides ago, then the detection capabilities, taking the anomalies out of there and putting whys around it to say, now here's 10 alerts for you to look at instead of those millions of events. And not only are those just 10 alerts, like go through them in detail, but how can we help walk them through step by step to say, here's the things you need to look at. Either A, it's very important, you should raise the event to maybe a critical, or B, this is safe behavior, move on. It's nothing to worry about. You can put this off and close it or just put it down to a lower level of importance. And where that can look at with an AI platform is, again, across the top left there, our feed of data and also third-party alerts and events going into Helix, our SIM XDR platform, and then taking that data down to 10 alerts to where that human investigation is ongoing, going into, say, an EDR, NDR solution where we also have whys wrapped around it, and then say, well, I'm going to execute a playbook to contain that system, that network traffic, whatever the case may be, to again act on it immediately. If you're looking at those millions alerts, a lot of things can go on outside of that that you're completely missing. So it's critical then to, again, parse that down to a manageable level. And how can you help to get that job done? So if on a normal day, there's 1,100 alerts, let's say there's 65 alerts per event, that's about analyst time, about 5 seconds per alert. So again, that's 65 events per alert of 1,100. So to give you a little context around that, to analyze every alert, Bedrock performs 357,500 seconds of analyst time per day, which is about 12 8-hour shifts. We continually hear the same thing in the market. Alert fatigue, understaffed, hard to find good talent, hard to keep good talent. We get someone, we train them, the person across the street offers them a better salary, remote work, and they walk out the door and I got to start over again. So it's critical again to help the security teams to arm them and use Gen AI responsibly to help their daily jobs. So where do we see it when it comes into answering questions? And we'll get into some examples here very shortly, how we're doing it in a UI, but what are some questions that we can help save time on? Well, is a user currently traveling? I need to go look at their calendar. Can I get their calendar? Can I see if they're at their desk? Where are they? Is that behavior signing in from that country normal? Were there failed attempts on their password reset? Do they have an executive admin? Maybe they're a certain level. Maybe it was the admin doing that work. Maybe the admin's been compromised. We don't know. What level of access does this user have? Do they have admin access? Can they access critical data and critical controls? And then after that password reset was done, did they go about their daily task? Or did they start moving laterally throughout the environment or dropping down tools for staging? Those are things we need to find out. And you see the minutes there, 13 minutes of work can be done in 45 seconds. Again, critical. But for all this to work, you need to look at everything. And that's where we see the breadcrumbs are important, not just the high level events. Some customers I hear from say, I can't do anything until boom happens for the most part because my teams don't have time to go look at the 90 days before, 27 days before. But what if you saw that credentials were stolen 90 days before? Or that someone was using rclone to exfiltrate data or AD-Find to look at my Active Directory environment? Those are critical events that need to be looked at because all alerts are important across my whole security stack, even before boom happens. And you see across the full context there at the bottom, endpoint, network, data, these are all areas we play in. Again, the third party that I called out. But each of these events are hugely critical to understanding the entire investigation. I'm going to touch on this here right now, but we believe that every alert should be looked at. Not every analyst needs to be looking at every single alert, but how could Gen AI take those alerts and give context around it? So let's touch on this immediately, how an auto investigation would look. And so taking us into the UI here, what does it look like? Is this a normal event in our Helix platform here? We're seeing a PowerShell activity going on. It is a medium. So really we're in the middle here. Could be good, could be bad. Is it malicious? I'm not exactly sure. What does this user do? What is their job? What is their title? Again, I'm not really sure. So as an analyst, maybe I need to take the IP address and go look at VirusTotal. Or I need to look internally and see if it's an internal solution. Those take time. So where can AI Trellix Wise come into play and give some context? Well, immediately, this is an analysis and the assessment from Trellix Wise. David Squiller, he's a director of sales, so he has a higher level role, but he doesn't have a job that maybe involve running PowerShell scripts. It's a PowerShell command that downloads execute a script from GitHub repository. Again, highly suspicious. Something that has to be called out is immediately something you need to be looking at more. A file name 19625 cutepuppy.exe, masquerading as an image, execute a command to run PowerShell with bypass execution policy, downloading, executing a script from GitHub. Again, behavior sounds suspicious. But finally, what is the importance of this? Given these factors, especially the successful execution of a suspicious PowerShell command and the target being a director, I believe this should be escalated to critical severity. Immediately, we're saying this medium event that you might not have time to look at, we're immediately tell you this should be a critical event. You don't need to go through and parse through all that data and do your own research. We're immediately telling you this is something that should be looked at. I will say that, there's a flip side of this. So someone said, you're just ambulance chasing on every single event, saying everything's critical, and my team will just be running around chasing these AI-driven critical events. It can also work the opposite direction. So example being, here we see a scanning tool going out, a Nessus agent. But AI is going to look at it and say, based on the base64 string, contains metadata of the system, OS version, IP addresses, Nessus plugin information. We're looking again at that specific event data. Given this, it appears to be normal activity, and there's no critical severity to be warranted. This is normal behavior of a security tool. Again, the opposite side of that, taking the escalated levels down if it's not necessary so their team can focus on what's critical. And if you're looking at that from a UI standpoint, this is a simple email that has come into an environment. We see the case was created by Trellix Wise at the top left. On the right side there, the expert summary and next steps. So it's saying a full investigation to determine the extent of the compromise. There's a malicious email attachment containing that macro-based Trojan. And then the full analysis there, the detailed analysis. So user profile, IP address. If maybe a SOC manager says, where's your proof? Proof is immediately right here. This is why we're calling out that this is legitimate versus malicious activity, who the user is, the IP address, the data. This can all be immediately shared with a SOC or a level 2, level 3 to say this is why we're escalating it, not that I have to go build these story or these steps internally to then justify why we need to escalate. AI can do that for me. So again, we are leveraging this across our security stack here at Trellix. We believe again, Gen AI, excuse me, is a huge asset to any security team and their tool set and how this can help them across the board. So again, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining. If you have questions, please reach out to us. We're happy to demo this live or talk about use cases that you're dealing with or how to even protect against misuse of Gen AI.